Hello, dreadful family. Tonight we're diving into 3 true food delivery horror stories, where the orders were normal, but the houses weren't. Lock your doors, and let's begin. I've been delivering food for almost 5 years now, mostly in small suburban neighborhoods outside the city. Quiet places, big houses, long driveways, the kind where people keep their porch lights on but never step outside. It was a Friday night in early October, cool, misty, and dead quiet. I remember it clearly because I had just finished my last normal delivery for the night when a new order popped up. The address? 19 Birchwood Lane. It was a bit far out, almost at the edge of town. But the pay was decent, and I figured one last run before heading home wouldn't hurt. Birchwood Lane wasn't a road I recognized. My GPS took me through a series of narrow streets, each one darker and emptier than the last. The further I drove, the fewer houses there were. Streetlights disappeared after a while, replaced by tall trees leaning over the road. Their branches arched above me, forming a tunnel of shadows. By the time I saw the house number pop up on my screen, I was starting to get that uneasy feeling, the one that creeps up when something doesn't feel right but you can't explain why. The house sat alone at the very end of the lane. No neighboring homes. Just forest. The place didn't look abandoned exactly, more like someone lived there but hadn't cared for it in years. The paint was chipped, the porch light flickered, and the front yard was cluttered with old furniture and half-buried garden tools. Still, the GPS said I was at the right spot. I parked, grabbed the food bag, and walked up the uneven path. The note on the order said, "Please leave food on the porch. Do not knock. The baby's asleep." That kind of request wasn't unusual. People with kids often ask not to be disturbed. But something about it bothered me, the word baby. The house looked too old, too. Forgotten. As I placed the food down, I heard something. A voice, faint but clear. "You're late." It came from behind the screen door. I froze. The light inside was dim, a warm, yellowish glow from a single lamp. But I couldn't see anyone standing there. Sorry, I said. Traffic. No response, just silence. Until the voice came again, softer this time. "He doesn't like waiting." Something about that sentence hit me wrong. The voice didn't sound angry, more like afraid. The food's on the porch," I said, stepping back. "Have a good night." "Wait," the voice whispered, then the sound of a latch clicking. The door creaked open slightly, not wide enough to see anyone, but enough for the smell to hit me. It wasn't rot or garbage, more like metal. Blood, maybe, the figure from the narrow opening. A pale hand reached out, shaking, thin, like it hadn't seen sunlight in years. It dropped something onto the floor. A folded $10 bill. Before I could react, the door shut again. I stood there frozen, staring at the money. Then I heard it. Footsteps behind the door, slow and dragging, followed by a low hum, like someone singing softly to themselves. That was enough for me. I grabbed the cash, turned, and walked quickly to my car. But as I was backing out, my headlights swept across the side of the house, and that's when I saw it. In the second-story window, a man was standing perfectly still, facing me. His head tilted slightly to the side, no movement. No expression. Just watching. By the time I got back to the main road, my hands were shaking. I pulled over and checked the delivery app. The customer's name was listed as Lydia K. I decided to call support. Told them I thought the house might be unsafe. Maybe a welfare concern. The operator checked the address, then her tone changed. "Are you sure that's the right house?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. 19 Birchwood Lane. There was a pause. "Sir, that address hasn't been in service for over a year. It was condemned last winter after a domestic incident." I went cold. "What kind of incident?" I asked. She hesitated. "A woman named Lydia and her infant son were found deceased. The husband was never located. The aftermath, I didn't sleep that night. Every sound in my apartment made me flinch. The next day, I drove back to Birchwood Lane. I don't even know why. Maybe I wanted to prove to myself it wasn't real. But when I got there, the road was blocked off by a rusted metal gate. The house was still there, dark, overgrown, untouched. No porch light, no car, no sign of life, and yet, on the porch I could still see the faint white outline of a delivery bag, the same kind I carried. I didn't get out of the car. I just sat there until the wind picked up and the trees started whispering. Then I drove away and never took another late-night order again. That was all it said. No sender name. No reply option. At first I thought it was a glitch, maybe a delayed system message. But something about the phrasing didn't fit. Not you forgot to confirm delivery or rate your trip, just you forget your trip. It felt personal. I stared at the message for a long minute, then locked my phone and told myself to ignore it. But when I opened the app the next night, the same message was waiting again, this time under support chat. You forget your trip. And underneath it, a new line appeared. We kept it for you. The text box blinked once like someone was typing. Then the chat closed on its own. I reported it to support. They told me no message like that existed in my logs. That night I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that faint orange glow from the basement window. I even convinced myself to drive by Willow Street, just to prove it was gone, condemned, boarded up. When I got there, it was dark and quiet. But the house wasn't boarded up. It was clean, painted, the porch light on, a small delivery bag sat on the step, same logo as the company I worked for. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A new order notification. Pickup 78 Willow Street. Delivery, your current location. I didn't accept it. I didn't decline it. The app accepted it by itself, and from the corner of my eye, through the mist, I saw someone standing in the basement window again, smiling faintly, holding a phone that glowed the same color as mine. I've done food delivery long enough to know that the scariest moments don't come from ghosts or shadows. They come from the houses that feel wrong before. You even step out of the car. That night on Willow Street proved it. It was mid-November and cold, quiet, and drizzling. I was covering a new zone for the app, an older part of town where the houses leaned close together, paint flaking, porches sinking a little from age. My shift was almost over when one last order came through. Delivery to 78 Willow Street. Cash tip inside. I almost declined it. The address was at the far end of the map, near the edge of an industrial area. But the payout looked good, $30 with tip, and so I hit accept. Willow Street was darker than it should have been. Streetlights flickered, some completely out. The rain had turned into a thin mist that made the air heavy and cold. When I reached number 78, I double-checked the map. The house looked normal, 2 stories, peeling blue paint, 1 dim porch bulb. But what caught my eye was the basement window. It glowed faintly orange. Most people don't keep lights on in their basements. I parked, grabbed the order, and walked up to the porch. The steps creaked under my weight. Before I could knock, I heard movement inside, hurried like someone running down a hall. Then a voice, "Just a second!" Female, nervous, the door opened halfway. A woman in her mid-40s stood there, pale, tired eyes, wearing an oversized sweater. "Hi," I said. "Food delivery for Claire?" She nodded quickly. "Yes, thank you. Could you bring it downstairs? My husband's in the basement and his hands are full." I hesitated. "Sorry, company policy says we leave it at the door." Her eyes darted toward the basement door behind her, slightly ajar. "It'll only take a second, please." Something about the way she said please, quiet but desperate, made my skin tighten. "Still," I said, "I'm really not supposed to." Then a man's voice called up from below. "Send him down. It's fine." She stepped aside, gesturing toward the stairs. The basement light glowed warm, like candlelight. Every instinct told me not to go, but curiosity, and maybe politeness, won for a moment. I took a few steps down. The air was damp, heavy, and smelled faintly of rust. "Hello?" I called. No answer. When I reached the bottom, I realized the light wasn't from a lamp. It was from a row of old candles lined up on a workbench, and there, near the center of the room, stood a man. He was tall, wearing an apron stained with something dark. His face was expressionless, eyes fixed on me. "You can set the food on the table," he said flatly. I did. My hands were starting to shake. He took a step closer. "You've been working long tonight?" Yeah, last order." He nodded slowly. "Must get lonely driving around all night." His tone wasn't threatening, but something about the way he stared made me want to bolt. Then I noticed something. Behind him, against the far wall, were 3 metal doors. Not cabinets, doors, each about waist-high, bolted shut. As I turned to leave, one of those doors made a sound. A faint knock. I froze. The man didn't react. He just smiled, a thin, deliberate smile. "Sometimes the pipes rattle," he said softly. But it wasn't the sound of pipes. It was 3 slow knocks, deliberate, followed by a muffled voice, too faint to understand. I took a step backward. "Look, I should go," he nodded again, still smiling. "Of course. Thank you for bringing the food." I walked up the stairs as calmly as I could, every step feeling heavier than the last. When I reached the top, the woman was standing there, one blocking the door. Her eyes looked glassy. "Did he offer you anything to drink?" "No," I said quickly. "I just dropped it off." She exhaled with visible relief and whispered, almost to herself, "Good. Don't ever drink anything from this house." Then she opened the door and motioned me out. The moment I stepped onto the porch, I heard the basement door close behind me, hard. I got to my car fast, but when I started it, I saw movement in my rearview mirror. The man was standing at the basement window staring out through the glass. No emotion, just watching. I drove off so fast I nearly hit the curb. Back at the gas station where drivers waited between orders, I couldn't shake it. I opened the app history to look at the order again, but it had vanished. No record, no address, no tip, nothing. I checked my call log. No delivery confirmation, no number. It was as if the order never existed. A few days later, I told another driver about it. He looked uneasy and said quietly, "Willow Street? They shut half that block down last year. One of the houses was condemned after a double homicide." "Husband and wife," I laughed nervously. "Which number?" He thought for a moment. 78, I think. I tried to forget it, but 2 weeks later another order came through late at night. I didn't recognize the address until I saw the street name. Willow. Different number. Different customer name. But my stomach still dropped. I declined the order and sat there watching the timer tick down until it disappeared. That same night, around 2 a.m., I received a message through the delivery app. No profile picture, no name, just text. "You forgot your tip." Some addresses stay burned into your memory, not because of how they look, but because of how they make you feel. For me, that address is 42 Merrick Drive. I delivered there once before, months ago, and it went fine. Quiet house, polite customer, decent tip. Nothing strange. But the second time I got sent there, something was off from the moment the order appeared on my screen. It was back in March, late shift, around 11:30 p.m. The order came through from Thomas R., double cheeseburger, fries, soda. Nothing weird. When I got there, the house looked normal. 2-story, lights on inside, basketball hoop in the driveway. A guy opened the door on mid-30s, beard, hoodie. Looked tired but friendly. "Hey man," he said. "Thanks for this. Been a long night." He tipped in cash, said goodnight, and that was it. Completely normal until 5 months later, October 3rd. Chilly night. I'd been working long hours and was about ready to clock out when the app buzzed again. Customer, Thomas R. Address, 42 Merrick Drive. At first, I didn't think much of it. Repeat customers happen. But when I looked at the timestamp, something caught my attention. The order had been placed at 11:31 p.m., the exact same time as the first one months ago. Even the order items were identical. Cheeseburger, fries, soda. Weird coincidence, sure, but I accepted it anyway. The closer I got, the more uneasy I felt. The entire street was darker than usual. Every house except number 42 had its lights off. When I pulled up, the house looked different. The basketball hoop was gone. The windows were dark. No porch light. I double-checked the address. Still correct. I got out, food bag in hand, and walked up to the door. The air felt colder near the porch, unnaturally still, like the air before a storm. I knocked once. No answer. I tried again. Still nothing. I was about to mark it as no response when the door creaked open slightly. "Leave it on the table?" The voice was low, muffled and male but strained, like he was sick or half asleep. I peered inside. The living room light was dim. I could make out a shape sitting on the couch, a man motionless facing the TV. The screen was just static. Sure thing," I said. I set the food down on a small table near the entryway. When I turned to leave, the man spoke again. "You delivered here before, didn't you?" "Yeah," I said slowly. "A few months ago," he laughed, soft but hoarse. "No, that wasn't me." I froze. He hadn't moved. His head was still turned toward the TV. "Sorry," I said carefully. "That wasn't me," he repeated. "You gave my food to someone else." The static from the TV grew louder, buzzing like white noise in my ears. I took a small step back. Look, I just go where the app tells me. Then from upstairs I heard footsteps. Slow, steady, coming toward the staircase, but the man on the couch didn't react. He just whispered, "Don't look up." The footsteps stopped at the landing. Then in silence. I should have left right then, but curiosity rooted me in place. A faint creak came from above. Then another. Against my better judgment, I looked up. At the top of the stairs, someone was standing in the shadows, same height, same build, same hoodie. For a split second, I thought it was the man from the couch, then I realized it was. He was both on the couch and at the top of the stairs. The one upstairs tilted his head slowly, like he was studying me. I backed toward the door, heart pounding. The man on the couch spoke again, voice lower now, distorted by the TV static. "You should go before he gets hungry again." That was all I needed to hear. I turned, yanked the door open, and bolted to my car. As I reversed out, my headlight swept across the house, and for a moment, I saw both figures standing in the doorway, identical, still watching. Back home, I couldn't shake the feeling. I kept replaying it in my head, trying to make sense of it. The next morning, I searched for the address online, and maybe to confirm I wasn't imagining things, but there was no 42 Merrick Drive listed anymore. The map showed an empty lot. I thought it was a glitch, so I checked property records. The last owner listed? Thomas R. He'd died 3 years earlier. Same week, same day, same time the first order was placed. Cause of death, house fire. No other residents found. A week later, I was scrolling my delivery history when I noticed something strange. The app showed another completed order for 42 Merrick Drive, time-stamped the night. I'd gone there, but the driver listed wasn't me. It was a name I didn't recognize. Still, the profile picture caught my eye. A grainy photo of a man in a gray hoodie, smiling. Thank you for watching, Dreadful Family. If you enjoyed tonight's stories, don't forget to leave a like and maybe a light on. Until next time, stay safe out there.